Welcome everybody to again the basically the Splatoon what if Izuku was a inkling. There are gonna be some changes to the story. Lucky I stopped at the entrance exam, because if I went on I would have regretted later, but hey, I didn't go on, so yeah. I stopped actually on a perfect spot for me to add more things. And I mean, when I say add more things, there's going to be more things. Finally got a ship. Uh, Deku is not going to be the only one that has this quirk. The Splatoon quirk. There is going to be another person that's able to use a Splatoon quirk, but not the graffiti style of it. So basically, they can shoot ink, they can produce ink, and a little hint, they like blood. They're also a villain. Yes, you might know who she is. I'm not going to say her name. For those who didn't watch My Hero Academia, go watch it now, because you're missing out. That's the ship, yes. She will be the ship. She will have two quirks. She'll have Izuku's ink quirk, or she'll be an inkling, and she'll still have a blood quirk, obviously. But she'll be more focused on basically uh, not the blood quirk, instead of the paint quirk, instead of the blood quirk. So, basically, yeah, Deku. Obviously, we stopped at basically the entrance exam. I don't think I said when Izuku went home. If I didn't, then I'm saying it now. I'm not doing a review of what happened last video. You have to watch it if you want to basically understand what's going on. Um, okay, Izuku Midoriya, and I said Izuku was a girl. There is no problem with that. I have no problems. I'm also doing enough. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Like, if you comment down below, but wait, isn't she also a girl? Well, technically yes, and technically there is no problem in my eyes. I've seen weirder things on What Ifs. I've seen weirder things. This is not the weirdest thing you will hear in a What If. Trust me, this is not the weirdest thing you will hear in a What If. So, just because just because they look like girls, doesn't mean. Yeah, I'm just gonna say they're quirk prevent. Like, I'm just gonna say Deku's gender neutral, finish and clear, because I don't wanna complain. I did a gender neutral video, What If Deku. That basically I had to redo it because of another. I can show you the pictures I have now. Hold up, give me a minute. I have to go back instead of forwards. Um, yeah, my gender neutral video. The stickers was going to be gender neutral. She's not going to be a girl. It's not going to be a boy. It's going to be a it now, because I just want that ship to go off. So I'm changing I'm changing Izuku's gender too, because of her quirk. Because of the quirk, it makes it gender neutral. Izuku's gender neutral. So is Toga, because yeah, I just spoiled it. Uh, I was gonna save that until a certain fight, but I spoiled it anyway. Yeah, Tauga is also gender neutral because she has the same quirk. She has two quirks. Uh, yeah, Deku has two parts of his quirk. Toga has two quirks. So Toga can only do the Splatoon version, basically original Splatoon. She can produce ink. She can move in it, turn into a squid, move into it faster. If she's in, like, basically ink in squid form, she moves pretty fast. She can climb up walls if she's in squid form, and there's paint up a wall. And she painted up a wall. Uh, she can't control what her ink can become, or what ink feels like. So basically, only Izuku can do that. That's the graffiti art style, like part of Izuku's quirk. Um, she can make it hurt. Obviously, she can do that same thing where if she shoots someone, it's either gonna hurt like hell. It's either gonna go right through the shoulder, or it's just gonna be like a normal paintball shot. Yeah, she can do that. That she can do. She has control over. She can make special objects and special abilities such as basically. Hold up, I had the picture here now. Now I'm going backwards. Now I'm going backwards. Oh my gosh, where is it? I can't find it anymore. Ah, there's it. She does. She can use rockets. She can use those. She can use like all of these specials. This is not all the specials. I would expect there would be more. Deku is gender neutral now. Basically, you will not call it a girl. You will not call it a boy. You will call it it because Deku does not have any gender. Yeah. As basically, I'm gonna go on because I was rambling there for a few minutes on. Continuing, basically Deku gets out. Izu, I was gonna say, okay, Izu gets home, and basically waits for the letter. A few days after the letter comes, Deku got second. She did not get first. I would say she did not get first. This time I'm saying she didn't get first. She got second on the entrance exam. Um, she's basically bummed out that she didn't get first, but she got second at least. Bakugo got first. Continuing. Mm, e- and I'm just gonna say everybody that basically lived with her and saw her, except for her mother. So everyone, like all my Bakugo and all her friends, thinks she's a girl. Well, technically she's gender neutral, so yeah. Yeah, so it's just a it, not a she. As basically she comes first day in UA. As she walks, basically finds the class 1A door. I'm not gonna say nothing really happened on the walk, like basically while she was walking. As she finds the class 1A door. As she opens the door, as basically it's massive, like when she first sees it. As she thinks, why do they make a door so big? As she opens it, as her with a colorful, basically her hair looks like this image. Um, gosh, I had it somewhere. There it is. Okay, let me just lock it. Yeah, her hair looks like this as she walks in, as she sees everyone, as everyone just stares at her like, that's the person that got second place in the. Basically, you can hear whispers like that's the person that got second place in basically the entrance exam, as basically Bakugo, you can see there's Bakugo with his feet on the desk with somebody talking to him, telling him to take his feet off, as it's Ida, obviously. As just like in canon, Ida comes up to Deku as he is basically congratulating it. I say it because it's not a she anymore, it's gender neutral. I want the show to work, so I'm gonna make it work by changing the what if. This is why I stopped at the entrance exam because this is why I stopped like just before the entrance exam was over because I made a whole lot of changes. Even the battle is going to be different. So yeah, sort of. As Deku is basically, I can say, it's same old Izuku, as Ida is basically congratulating him and saying that she's a better student than him, as basically she's like, yeah, okay, whatever you tell yourself, as she says this like in her head, like, yeah, okay, whatever you tell yourself, as she walks to a seat, as basically after like a few minutes Mr. Zawa comes in, as basically Mr. Zawa's like, it took you 8 seconds to quiet down, that won't do, as basically everyone starts to like basically whispering again, who's this guy, is this guy our teacher, as he's basically in front now, is like, settle down, I'm your homeroom teacher, Mr. Zawa, as Izuku like narrows his eyes on Mr. Zawa, as basically she says like, I've seen him before, as basically he says everything in canon, as Ochaka also says that aren't they going to the basically the ceremony, as like Mr. Zhao is like the ceremony of like the ceremony is a no. Basically he says that thing about the ceremony in canon. It's just canon Mr. Zawa, as he tells everyone to put this clothes on, as they do put the clothes on, as this is going to be a funny scene, as basically when all the boys were in the dressing room, Izuku walks in, as all the boys just turn to her, as basically Ida's the first one to speak up, as basically Ida's like, Masizuku, what are you doing? As basically Izuku is like, what? I'm getting dressed. As basically, as I would say, Kirishima is like, this is the men's room. This is the men's room. You do know that, right? As basically Izuku is like, and do I not look? And it's like, you guys, as basically she says, you guys do know that I'm gender neutral, right? As all of them just blink twice and say what? As basically Izuku explains, because of my quirk, it makes me basically have no gender. So, and I'm gonna like, if anyone comments down below that that's not true, squids have gender, I do not give a crap. I know there was somebody down in the comments below saying that squids have a gender. I understand that, but I do not care. I'm making Izuku genderless. Jeez, I can sense it already. The bombardment of comments. Actually, squids have a gender. So Izuku must have a no. This is my what if. I am making Izuku genderless. That's it. Take your comments down below. I can sense them already. And throw it out the window because I cannot allow this. This is just calling for more funny moments. And I mean funny moments I can make with this. So leave it. Just leave it. Leave it, please. Izuku's genderless. I know squids have genders, but I do not care. I'm making Izuku genderless, okay? Okay. I can sense the comments like going away now. They're fading, okay. Bam. Me and my ultra instinct senses here. As Izuku says that they do know that that she's gen because of because of Izuku's quirk, that he basically, this is even harder now. Basically Izuku's genderless, as they'll like blink twice as they say what, as basically Izuku's like, as he basically looks at them at a more tone. So you all thought that I was a girl, when clearly I'm neither a girl or boy. As basically she turns to the side like stating that you are a bunch of idiots, as basically even Bakugo is like, wait, what? Sorry about that, if you heard that. Bakugo is like, wait, what? So you're not a girl, as basically Izuku looks at Bakugo and says, I'm whatever I want to be, girl or boy. As basically she looks at Bakugo in a, are you serious now? You thought I was a girl all these years? As basically Bakugo is stunned. He can't say anything. He's just like, okay, you can get dressed. As basically while she's getting dressed, everyone's looking at her. As basically you can't, basically because of squid things, she doesn't have the goods to show off. So because of squid things, she doesn't have the goods to show off. So she gets dressed, as she can feel the stairs. So she gets dressed quickly and leaves. As because of this incident, there was no Mineta getting his eye poked out by the girls. As basically she leaves the dressing room and heads to the training thing. As she is basically dressed as She's the first of the boys to walk out, as basically Mr. Azawa asks, so, where you got dressed? As basically, Izuku says that she got dressed in the boys section, as basically all the girls are like, why? As basically Izuku is like, not you girls too. You guys can clearly see I'm a boy. You guys can clearly see I have no gender, right? As they all shake their heads, as basically Izuku is like, fine. Guess you guys figured it out. I'm genderless. As basically she throws her hands in the air, unamused, like she's been sarcastic. As basically they all like, okay, we did not realize it. We just thought you had. We all thought you were a girl. As Izuku's like, no, I'm not a girl. As basically Izuku says in her head, in like his head, or its head to be more specifically, says in its head, well, lucky I'm an only child. Otherwise, if I had a brother, this would be more complicated. As she laughs in basically awkwardness of the situation at hand, as Mrs. Zhao just wipes it off and continues. As all the boys finally arrive, as Bakugo throws the ball first. He gets the same number in canon, where basically they say that this test, if they can use their quirks all the time, then this test is easy. As basically Izuku already brought one of his support items, which is the rolling pin, and I would say he also brought the sniper, as he has that attached to his back basically. As basically Masazawa is like, Masazawa says, this is going to be easy, you say, as he looks at everyone, as he says all of this, the same things in canon, as Masazawa, once he was done explaining, Izuku's like, curse you, you made teachers angry now. As basically he says to the person that said that this test is gonna be easy, you just said, curse you, you made the teacher angry now. Now one of us is gonna have to leave. As basically Izuku's angry for that person now. He's like, made the teachers angry, and now one of us is gonna have to leave. As basically Masazawa does the test, as first test is the running test, basically the long distance. As before the test begins, before Izuku and Ida's test begins, Izuku first paints the floor. As much as I was wondering what she's doing, she paints it all the way to the finish line and right back. As basically she puts her rolling pin and sniper away. As basically when Azawa asks if Izuku's done, as she's like yes. As basically Azawa was like, on your marks, get set. As basically the timer starts, Izuku transforms and just goes. Izuku is as fast as Ida without using reciprocal burst, as she just gets to the end. As basically Ida uses reciprocal burst finally, as he also gets there and they both get the same time. It only took them a few minutes to get there. It only took them not even seconds. What is Ida's fastest time in the running, long distance running, when he used reciprocal burst? That's basically Izuku's time. They're both tied, as basically Izuku jumps out of the paint, transforms back again. As she says that was fun. As basically Ida's like, wait, I wasn't faster than her. As Ida looks back at the time, and they both were actually even. As Ida's like, damn, she's fast. As As the rest of the tests go, the strength test she doesn't do well in. The grip strength test. The long distance test, she paints the basically when she paints the floor when she's about Like when she, like the place where she can run, she paints as when she jumps in a squid form and then transforms in a human form. As she lands, I would say she gets like sixth out of everyone, like sixth place. Um, what else? Gosh, there was a whole lot of things. High jump, I guess. Long jump, high jump. She placed fifth. She did a bit better, as she's not lost. She is doing better than some people, but basically the ball throw, I think it's not going to be that good, as she doesn't have any like special techniques to make the ball go further, except for a creation. As basically a graffiti crook, as basically she gets the ball next, as everyone's watching her, as basically she's like, yeah, everyone's watching me, as she's thinking of an idea, as she comes up with an idea, as she starts painting something on the ground, as basically Azawa's giving her a minute, as Azawa says, whenever you're ready to throw the ball, as she's like, okay, as basically she closes her eyes as the object starts like coming out of the paint, as it's like a mortar cannon, like a massive, gosh, I wish I had that mortar, basically long mortar guns, that massive big ones, as it's used basically to, uh, yeah, those massive mortar big cannons. As she made one, as she basically puts the ball in, prepares it, as she fills the entire gun. There's a container behind with ink. As she fills the entire gun with ink, as she loads the ball up and fires it. When it fires, a splash of ink sprays everywhere as the ball goes flying. As basically she got a bit higher than Bakugo, just by like, how can I say it? You can say 200. Actually, I don't really know how much Bakugo got. I'm gonna say 750, and Izuku got. He got 900, as he nearly broke the thousands. As basically basically she got second. Ochako got infinity. She got second. Bakugo got third. Bakugo's pissed at that one, as basically all of them discover that Izuku, basically they found Izuku's second part of its quirk. I have to say it now instead of her. Should I call it a her? Like in the meantime, I don't know. I don't know if I should call it a her or it or he, because it's gender neutral, so I don't know what to call it. I'll just call it a her for now, but just recap, it's gender neutral, so it's not going to make much of a difference. I wonder how long the pictures were not on screen. Um, Continuing on, as Izuku is basically like the class goes on as normal until All Might comes in, as he opens the door and says, "Walking in like a hero," as basically everyone's excited, as basically they all say it's All Might. Izuku's basically Izuku's doing really well to keep his excitement in instead of bursting out, so he's doing like really well, as basically All Might like says that they're gonna do heroes versus villain, and they must get their basically their hero suits. And I hope I have that picture of it. Hold up, give me a minute. I don't think I even have that picture. I would, yeah. This is actually no, not even this one. Uh, okay, I'm back again. This is what Izuku's going to be wearing. And also, quick statement. I don't think I went over Izuku's life. I mostly been getting through the story as fast as possible. I don't think I told you what Izuku's hobbies were. I don't even I don't even think. I know I didn't tell you Izuku's hobbies. Well, Izuku has two hobbies that he does that she does. I'm gonna say she from now onwards because I don't want to say it anymore. Um, it's not gonna be a girl. It's gender neutral still. As she does basically. She does fashion because she's gender neutral. She she can wear both boy and girl and still look fine in it. Um, and still basically she does fashion and she models obviously. Fashion models. She models and she's also a DJ. I just add that out there. She's also a DJ. As basically that's just a quick side note of what she does. She's basically how can I say she is famous in the public eye, but no one knows her real identity. She wears a mask every time. Even when she's modeling, she wears a mask. But no one really like put two to two together. Her hairstyle and the way she dressed is like basically no one has put two to two together. As she dressed like this, as she's wearing this in the hero versus villains, as Izuku is walking basically Izuku walks out looking like this as everyone's like clapping for Izuku's hero costume. It looks pretty good as she does have a tank on her. She does have like a tank on her to use more special moves because if she uses a special move then she can't fill her guns up with ink. That's a little drawback, so she has a tank on her to counter that as Izuku can basically do the same thing in Splatoon, turn into a squid form and fill the tank up in the ink like mess that she made. As basically All Might gives the instructions, obviously, the hero versus villains, and it will basically same thing as canon. Izuku and Ochako versus Bakugo and Ida. As basically Izuku is she's pumped. She's ready. And she borrowed two weapons with her. She borrowed her basically she actually has three weapons on her. She has three now this time. Because I actually thought of it and yes she can hold her sword. So the weapon she has on her, like and there I go spoiling the images. God darn it. I really hate myself. To let you see it. Okay, she has three weapons on her. She has, where's that weapon now? She has obviously the rolling pin. She has the double shooters or the dual wielders, dualies. Double shooters or dualies, that's what they call it. She has the rolling pin and dualies. I'll show you them. She has the two guns, just there, and this rolling pin next to the sniper. What else does she have? Oh gosh, I have to find them again. It's hard like seeing where the stuff is. Ah, there's it. That long like straight stick it looks like it's a sword, an ink sword. She also has that and that's the only thing she brought. As she got two more weapons as okay, so she has five weapons right now. She got two more, so that would bring her up to seven. Oh no, not that umbrella. She's gotten the umbrella right on the top. And also a grenade launcher, which I cannot find right now. She's also gotten a grenade launcher. If you hear my voice like getting like basically how can I say it basically you can't hear my voice anymore. That's because I am not using my usual setup. I have to basically show you the pictures, and by showing you the pictures, I have to basically take my mouth away from the, how can I say it, my recording side to show you the pictures, as that's why you can't hear my voice that well. Continuing on, Deku is obviously has three weapons. He has his double dualies, dual wielding guns to be more specifically. He has his rolling pin and he has his sword. As basically, or basically they get a plan, as it's the same plan in canon. As basically Deku is gonna prove to be the distraction for Bakugo. As basically they're running together, Ochako and Deku. As Deku finally starts painting the floor with his rolling pin, as he's doing that while running throughout the building, as basically Deku hears something, as she grabs Ochako and throws her, as she says that Ochako must go for the bomb, as the wall just bursts open with an explosion, as basically Katsuki Bakugo turns around and is like Deku, as basically she says Kachan and pulls out the sword and swings at basically Kachan. Um, basically, Kachan, thinking that this won't hurt, just lets it hit him, as it hurts like a real sword, but doesn't make any mark. As it doesn't cut into Bakugo, but it hurts like a real sword. As basically, um, Katsuki Bakugo got slashed across the basically chest, as he basically screams in pain, as it's also burning him because she's making it feel like acid, as it's melting away his, how can I say it, his hero suit, as basically he stands up in pain. He's like, "You damn nerd!" As basically she says, "Well, that's a new name. That's a new name you have ever gave me." As basically Kachan rushes at her in anger, trying to as he throws an explosion. She dodges. She takes out her two long guns, puts a sword away, takes out her basically how can I say it, her two double pistols, starts firing on basically Bakugo. Bakugo has to use his explosions to defend, as he dodges, as basically Izuku shoots. He's hiding behind a wall. Izuku shoots, and the bullet goes, as the bullet goes right through the wall. As basically it makes you can see, basically it just comes out on the other side of the wall, right next to Katsuki's head. As he's like, when did this nerd's quirk get so strong? As basically he's sweating bullets because that stuff can pierce. As basically he's rethinking his plan on rushing Izuku, because he has both long range, close range, and whatever the rolling pin is. As basically Izuku takes out his rolling pin, starts rushing towards Bakugo while painting the floor as he comes around the corner, and basically she's basically painting the floor as Katsuki just gonna explode her, as she basically froze paint using the rolling pin, as basically Bakugo had to use his explosions to propel himself back, as it also pushed Izuku back, as she's like, that hurt. As basically she swaps between her long range again, as she starts shooting, as this is the limit of basically what she can do. Every time she swaps weapons, there is a little bit of an opening, as basically anybody can attack her when she swaps a weaponry. As basically she's now using her dual wield guns, and she's firing at Bakugo. Bakugo has to dodge this long range attack, mid to long range attack, as basically Bakugo lets out a long, I can say a longer explosion that can actually reach her, as she dodges out of the way, rolls out of the way, starts firing more, as her canister is full. That means her special attack is full, as basically to use this, basically her special attack involves revolves around her basically bombs, because her new basically weapon that she got, or bomb, is where is it? No. Okay, it's not here on screen because I couldn't find it. Her special is basically sponge landmines. She can throw down. She can throw at least 20 of them, as she starts tossing them all over the room. As basically they start like how can I say it, moving forward, and they always move forward, and then they start beeping, as the beeping gets louder until it explodes in paint. As Bakugo had to dodge most of these sponge landmines that can move, as he dodged a lot of them. As Izuku basically is coming down with the sword, as she tries to slash Bakugo, Bakugo dodges, as she was swapping Bakugo attacks, as Bakugo explodes Izuku all the way to the wall, as Izuku's like, ow! As she takes out her dual shooters, as she starts shooting at Bakugo. Bakugo is basically the floor is now covered with paint, as Bakugo is having a hard time moving, as basically Bakugo has to stay in the air, because if he touches the floor it's like glue and mud mixed. It's glue, mud, and basically glue, mud, and gosh, how can I say it? Uh, Quicksand. It's like glue, mud, and quicksand at the same time. So it's basically he's having a struggle moving, as Bakugo is like, what is this stuff? As Izuku rushes Bakugo, as he takes out her rolling pin and basically hits him, as he lands on the floor, as Izuku takes out her rolling pin again and runs over basically Bakugo, as Bakugo in like is in so much pain. Izuku knocks Bakugo out, as basically Izuku's like, well, that job is done, with the rolling pin, ties him up, as basically she makes a drawing, as basically it comes to life, as it is basically paintmen, as basically she says that we must she tells these paint soldiers to basically get to Ochako, because she's taking, how can I say it, the highway. And a second special attack, which I did not say anything about her special, which is a jetpack which she can use that is attached to a canister. That's why a paint canister looked a bit different. It's a rocket or jetpack, a paint jetpack, as basically they're taking the long way, she's taking the easy way up. She goes up with the jetpack, and I would say there is a spot where she can just she's outside the building flying all the way to which floor Ochako is, as Ochako says that she's on, basically she tells her where the floors are, Ochako, which floor is the bomb on, as she basically lands by a window, as she can see basically basically what Ita's doing. He's just laughing weirdly, as I'm gonna say that she can't do this because she's a squid. I need another picture. You see the parts of her hair, hold up, let me show you, this parts of her hair. Basically the ones that looks like the parts of her hair that looks like basically a squid hand. Those two parts she used to stick on the basically the window. Yeah, she's basically using her hair in a way to stick on the window, as she's watching this weird thing that Ida's doing. He's laughing basically like a villain and speaking like one, as she's trying her best not to laugh, as she puts something on the window, as basically it's a sticky basically paint bomb, as she basically sticks her way to the other side in a safe distance, as it explodes, as basically Ochako took this as her time to basically rush out, as Izuku comes in through the window, as basically she basically fires at Ida. Ida has to dodge as Ida's dodging the attacks as basically Ida rushes Izuku and doesn't see Ochako as some of the other paid soldiers are also come through the door and fire at Izuku as basically before like Ida had to dodge as Ida does another boost as he tries a boost kick as before you can even hit like Izuku, the basically All Might says over the monitors that Hero's Wing, as basically he's just like what? As he looks behind him as he sees Ochako, as basically he is still in the middle of his flying kick as basically Izuku like dodges and uses her like before Ida could fly out the window, she uses her hair to grab his foot and then just swing him like into a wall like bam as basically it is like thank you I would prefer you save me in a different way but thank you for that Izuku as basically Izuku's like no problem as she looks at the camera and this is something from Splatoon 2 as basically she looks at the camera and she says on the monitor well that's basically she says well that's it folks and until the next battle until the next battle oh gosh I have to remember now I can't want to remember I wanted to say this um and until the next battle, don't get cooked, stay off the hook. And she does a pose as basically, like, everyone's like, what did she just say? As basically, Dinky is like, basically, I think Momo, yeah, Momo is like, did she make a pun because she's a squid? Don't get cooked, stay off the hook. As basically she finally realizes it, as basically she's like, darn it, that's some weird pun. As basically because she's a squid, and because of Splatoon 2, I got this off of Splatoon 2, don't get cooked, stay off the hook, as basically everyone finally gets the pun, as they're like, oh, and she does a pose there, as she has like her doolies out as she's busy like posing there in front of the camera as she stops her pose because it can only last a certain while as they walk out of the building as basically like Kaku wait Bakugo is like taken like inside as well because he was knocked out by Izuku as the matches continue. Katsuki Bakugo finally wakes up as he says, what happened? As he looks around, as he says, where's that damn nerd? As basically All Might says, calm down, young Bakugo. The battle's already finished. You lost. As basically Bakugo's like, so Izuku knocked me out and I lost. As Bakugo's not taking this lightly, he's angry as he starts cursing. As basically she tells All Might, should I knock him out again? As All Might's like, no. As basically the matches go on. Can people win? All the people that won in canon like won. As this time I'm gonna get into my basically the one I've been preparing for is the USJ. As basically it's like the day of the USJ, a few days like before, a few days like after the US versus Netherlands, as the USJ comes up, as Mr. Ozawa basically they all go on the bus with Mr. Ozawa to the USJ, as the Black Hole Hero is still there, as she tells everybody about the USJ and what is it? It's a rescue. Basically it's to train you in rescuing, as basically as in canon a portal opens up, as it's I would say that gosh, am I gonna have to hold up before the USJ? Before the USJ, let's go back before the USJ. I did not say this. I have to do this in time. Timeline has to be Pacific. Hold up, the spot has to be like happening. Um, Before the USJ, there was like basically it was the cafeteria event, basically where the children went mad, as basically they had to choose their class rep as they chose Ida and Momo this time. Ida is the class whip. They didn't choose Deku, as basically they are in the cafeteria with basically Deku is talking to his three friends that he made, which is Ida and Urivaka, and basically that's when the alarm goes off. As everybody starts getting insane, as basically everything happens in canon where Ida has calmed the children down. As Izuku is looking around, as he sees a splash of paint or pathway of paint, as it's a different color, as basically Izuku's like, that's strange. I swear I didn't paint here this day. I swear I didn't leave any paint on this floor. As she like when like Deku touched it, like it felt like the same thing, like quicksand. As basically it's like, this is not my paint. As Izuku like takes out, I would say he has his sword on him. As he takes out his sword, and basically Izuku is following the ink while basically splatting the hallways with ink as well. As she's like basically like using a dual wield first, using a dual wield guns to splat the floors and trying to cover whatever pathway was made. As basically Izuku comes on like up on this decayed wall that's open that leads to a teacher's lounge. As basically she basically enters, as she's like, freeze, don't move or this is gonna really hurt if I shoot. As basically this guy with blue hair, it's Shigaraki obviously, like puts his hand up, as basically he says Toga, as Toga comes in with a, I wouldn't say dual wield, wouldn't say dual wield gun. She comes in with a basically like, gosh, what gun should I give Toga? She comes up with this gun that's under the grenade launcher. This one. She comes up with this one as she starts firing, unloading ink paint on Izuku. As Izuku like has to dodge the ink paint as it hits the wall. As it starts melting it, as Izuku is like, yep, she's gonna kill me. As she takes out her dual wield, as she starts firing on, basically, she starts firing on, basically Toga, which I'll show you. Yeah, this is what Toga looks like. She starts firing on Toga as Toga is dodging left to right, as basically Toga is like feeling that this ink has like, it's like quicksand and it's hurting her. As she jumps back, as basically Toga is having a paint war now with Izuku, as basically she rushes Izuku. As they are both genderless, obviously, just stating, they are both genderless because of the quirk. As basically Deku has to retreat now. Deku like turns into a squid and retreats, as Toga like basically makes a like, while Toga's running, is making a pathway. As she's following Izuku, Izuku is rushing down to the hallway. As basically how can I say it, Shigaraki is basically running out of UA, as he's running quickly out of UA the way they came for him, as while Toga is having a match with Izuku. As basically Toga and Izuku is enjoying this because it's basically the best and most, how can I say it, intense ink battle they had in a while. They had in forever, as they are busy like inking the hallways to the point where it's just random colors. So what color is Izuku? Once he's in a paint war or a paint battle with another person that has also the same quirk, he has to choose a single color. So Izuku chose green, light green, obviously. And Toga has chosen basically a kind of yellowish color. As he, no, I'm gonna say Izuku chose light blue and Toga chose like light green. As Izuku's hair color is like light blue, as as Toga's hair color. Yeah, this is Toga's color. This is what Toga's color. This is what Toga chose as Izuku's light blue. As they're basically having this ink war. As basically some of the heroes like are rushing down the hallway as they see this this fight going on. As it's a villain versus a hero. As basically Mr. Zara's like, what's going on? The hallways are painted. As basically Izuku and Toga are fighting with basically ink weaponry. As Toga also has a sword, as they also went like sword clash because I'm just gonna say because it's more epic. As basically Mr. Azawa wanted to assist, as when he tried to block Toga's quirk, it didn't block her quirk, it only blocked her blood quirk. As basically Toga sees another hero as she fires on basically that hero. As like Izuku shoots at Toga, but it was already too late. As basically Izuku like rushes Masazawa and grabs him, basically like dodging the paint bullet that Toga shot. As basically she's like, damn it, as she basically Toga's retreating now. As Toga made a second path all the way like through Shigaraki's entrance, as basically Deku throws a bomb in front of her, an ink bomb, as basically she's like, no you're not. As basically Toga's like, this is basically a bit, this is gonna be a bit problem. This is problematic, as she jumps over the paint like, the paint, how can I say it? The paint like, she jumps over the cutoff that Izuku made, as Izuku chases Toga while making another ink path. As basically now they're outside, as Toga uses a special. Toga uses the rapid target fire missiles, ink fire missiles, as she fires these missiles in the air as they all start bombarding on Izuku, as Izuku like has to dodge it. As Izuku uses a special of his, Izuku like is throwing like, they are having a complete paint war, as basically they are outside with reporters, as the reporters are like recording hero versus villain ink war, as basically they are like neck and tooth at each other. They are not gonna give up. As Toga like hides behind an object, and while Izuku's like hiding as well. As basically he told Mr. Zawa that he needs like his rolling pin. As basically Toga's outside, as she only had her two like dual weapon, like her one gun. She left two of her like one of her weapons, which is also a rolling pin, which is a bucket, outside. As basically Mr. Zawa brought her rolling pin to Izuku, as Izuku says, sorry Mr. Zawa, but this is my fight. As she basically starts painting the roads, as she's rushing to basically to, how can I say it? She's rushing through cover to cover while basically Toga is trying to fire on her. As she puts away a rolling pin, as she starts firing on basically Toga, as basically in cover, as while Toga's in cover, she throws a bucket of paint over a wall. As basically this is about to hit Izuku, as Izuku rolls out of the way. As basically now Toga's with Shigaraki, and basically she made it back, as this paint war went all the way until she got back, until she entered the portal, and she's like, that was fun. Until next time. Until next time, as she knows Izuku's name, as she says Izuku, as the portal closes, as basically Izuku's like, damn it, as Izuku's like, I wonder what they took from the teacher's office. As basically what it looks like, as nothing has been like taken, there was nothing stolen from the heroes, villains, like whatever they came for, they like looked for it and they couldn't get it, so nothing was stolen. As basically the the ink war that was happening between hero and villain was basically like on the news as it was an intense fight. Trust me, it was an intense fight. A one-on-one ink battle as basically none of them were giving up and none of them were gonna get hit. As basically the USJ happens. As the USJ happens, like the children, like I can say, Class 1A is talking about the fight between Inko and that, like, no, Izuku and that villain, as basically they are asking Izuku how was it? Was it intense? As basically Izuku's like, yes, it was very intense. I mean, we both had an ink, like basically the same technically the same quirk in a way, as basically our quirks work in with there is a rule between our quirk. Basically, we both have an ink. Basically, he puts it in simpler terms. We both had an ink war, as none of us were gonna give up and none of us were gonna get hit. As basically, Zuko has his rolling pin, the sword, and the dual wielders. He doesn't have his sniper with him. He has his sniper with him. It's just if he equips his sniper, he has to put one of his. Basically, he has to put his basically rolling pin down. As the USJ happens, as they are by the USJ now, the basically dark pool. How can I say it? Dark black hole hero explains the USJ and the name, which is a bad pun, and also the and also then a portal opens up as basically villains start pouring out, as basically we see Toga again. As we see Toga again, as Toga's like, hi Izuku, as basically Izuku's like, god damn it, villains, as basically Izuku is already prepared to fight, as he equipped his sniper because it's more longer range now, as basically like like class was like busy discussing while Izuku's preparing, as basically the same things in canon happen, where Masazawa's like you have to get out of here, as basically he activates his eraser quirk and starts fighting the villains, as um, basically Shigaraki teleports between all the children at the same time. Ida gets away and teleports all the children, except for Izuku. Shigaraki teleports her personally into a different area. As this area is an abandoned city, but it's not raining. It's basically just an abandoned, broken down city side in the USJ. As basically Izuku's like, what? As there's a lot of cover. As basically Izuku's on a pad. As he, like, basically Toga's also on a pad, which is yellow. As Izuku is like wondering what's happening. As he looks across the field, as basically he gets an idea. As basically, I think this is Paint War. As basically Izuku's like, I think this is a turf war. As Izuku prepares his weapon, Izuku has his rolling pin equipped, as Toga doesn't have a rolling pin. She has a bucket, a sword, and basically the gun that I showed you. As basically they all go at the same time, as they all start painting the floors, because that's like their first instinct. Paint the floors, quick getaway. It can also prevent people from moving in it. But Toga can also paint Deku's floors her color. So the color that Deku is a light green, and Toga's still yellow. Toga didn't change her color yet, as basically they are painting the floors continuously until they meet up with each other, and then it's basically a hectic paintball battle. As I'm gonna basically, it's a real hectic paint war battle, as none of them are giving in to one another. As I would say, like, while this is happening, everything at the background is still happening. Instead of Deku holding off the Nomu, it's Bakugo and Todoroki. As Deku has gotten hit like twice, and one more hit Deku's out. As Deku doesn't know what happens if he gets hit 3 times, what his quirk will do to him. As basically Deku got hit the third time, and also how can I say, Toga's curious, as basically he poofs in ink, in a like certain color ink, as basically Deku like teleports to the pad that like existed, as basically Toga's like, oh, that's cool. So as basically Toga thinks about it now, as basically Toga thinks, basically Toga like gets an ideas. Basically, if she paints the entire turf wall, does that mean Izuku loses permanently? As she starts painting the floors again, as Izuku rushes, as basically it's a one-on-one. There's no teams, it's just a one-on-one. As this is a heated paintball. Deku's died once, Toga's died once, but they are both even on turf. Basically, the entire like section of the battle where they're fighting is inked colored, as basically the Nomu was defeated and they teleported Shigaraki back to the base, as the portal guy is still like watching over Toga because her fight is still going on. As finally the heroes like get as they like Mr. Zawa didn't like break his leg. The Nomu didn't like get the chance to break his leg because of Todoroki and Bakugo. They got there before the Nomu like hurt Mr. Azawa badly. As Mr. Azawa like while they were like holding off like the Nomu and All Might appeared, Mr. Azawa like basically left. As while he left, like he was looking for Deku, like he didn't show his face with the other Clark children. As basically he's looking for Deku, as he tells the children that can't find him, as basically they also start looking, as until they are basically Mr. Zawa finds is standing on a building watching this paint fight. As basically Mr. Zawa is just watching this like, what quirk even is this? As basically it's a paint war. It's a heated paint war. None of them are getting the upper hand. Not Toga, not Izuku. As basically none of them are backing down on any turf. It's just the center that they're fighting over. As whoever like whoever kills their opponent gets a chance to paint their side of the turf, like the opponent's side of the turf, and gets to push them back more. As Masazawa still tries to block out Toga's quirk, it doesn't work. As basically the other children arrive, as they are just watching this basically paint war, as basically it was like basically and like they ran out of time, you can say, as it was even like just 50-50. There was no one had the upper hand, as they were both tired, as Toga had like got teleported, like Toga got teleported by not Shigaraki, Kurogiri, as basically she's like, don't worry, our fight will come next time. But that was really fun. Our next fight, one of us is gonna be the victor. As they teleport Toga, as Toga is gone, as basically like Deku like drops to the floor tired, as Deku was panting, as Deku was really giving it his all in that fight, and all he like it was just a draw. There was no basically victor this time. As basically Toga was going all out this time, because like last time Toga wasn't going all out and she wasn't actually prepared for a paint war like that on the scale, but she was prepared this time, as basically Izuku's panting, as basically finally must the class like all the children like meet up with Izuku, as basically Mr. Zawa's like, so you're done with your little war there, as basically Izuku's like very tired, and she says, yeah, as basically she basically falls on her feet, She falls asleep on her feet as she drops to the floor. As basically they take her to the medical room as Recovery Girl says that she's just tired. She needs to rest after a how long battle, as basically it's like a few hours, like two, like not just like 2 hours and 30 minutes that they've been going on, and Izuku has died 3 times and Toga has also died 3 times. Izuku has gotten back that like that other 2 shots on the last near the last round, as basically Izuku is sleeping, as basically, yeah, that ink battle happened. There was not much detail because it was only Toga versus basically Izuku, one on one. There was nothing much other than just Toga versus Izuku. As the USJ was basically, there was a bit more casualties because of Deku wasn't there, but Bakugo and Todoroki held off the Nomu until All Might arrived. So they are also in the hospital, as basically I'm gonna stop it there until the next time. I might come up with a bit more things to do in this what if. This what if is a new what if, and I'm getting a lot of ideas. Until the next time, and after like the next basically after the USGI, I'm going to do the basically the the festival the festival obviously, and another like part that wasn't like a part that my own part that I've made, where Deku finally meets Toga in real life instead of like hero versus villain, like they are out of their hero versus villain clothes. And I'll also be covering the basically the gosh, what's its name? I won't be covering the Stains incident. I'll be covering like basically Deku's not entrance now. Basically he has to go somewhere to a hero agency. That one. I'll go over that later. But until the next time, guys, bye. And if this video sounds horrible, please comment down below. I don't have my same setup anymore, and I really don't like it either. So until I get better equipment and a mic, then maybe my videos might sound a bit better if I get like those equipment. But until next time, guys, bye.